Good afternoon, guys, and we're back with Poopy Head and Porta Potty and Nature Core. And today we're gonna talk about the modern man and the man in this world and what the man used to be in the cave eras that we used to say. So to take the lead, I think Porta Potty has a quote for you.
Yes, I do. I have a quote I want to start with. The strongest men are those who are willing to be vulnerable by Bernie Brown. I hope I said the name right. So, and I think that's really hits for me because I think at the moment in that modern world, I have the feeling men have to still are not allowed to show emotions. I have the feeling a lot of men have the feeling like, oh, I cannot show that I'm vulnerable. I have to be the strong guy. Like I'm not allowed to cry. I cannot say that I'm failing. I have to be perfect all the time. And I think there's a lot of pressure. I don't know how you see that, but I think as a modern man, when we're coming from the traditional man role, being now someone who kind of needs to provide everything, needs to be good in everything, from being a great handyman to a good listener, like it's a really the two ends, right?
Yeah.
And we are not allowed to fail anymore. Otherwise, we get direct feedback that, hey, you're acting not man enough, man up,
Yeah.
and or you love Pokemon, man up, or you want to cry, man up, And I think that's really sad because I think a strong man is also a man who not only have like is strong like physically, but also is strong in kind of showing vulnerability and says, hey, I need help, or hey, I think that's not right, and speaks up.
No, that makes sense. What you think?
Well, poopy head. What I think is, I think the role of a man has definitely changed drastically in the past, maybe decade or 2 decades, especially with the role of a lot of women are able to get high advancing jobs now. A lot of them were very career oriented now because maybe 20, 30 years ago, it used to be more traditional where the men would be, I guess, like the breadwinner, the provider, like financially, and the woman's role would be more like, kind of stay at home, try to help the kids or try to, support the family at home. But now, and well, I would say at least in America, what I've noticed is that it's definitely been more like everybody's kind of the same now. Like it's not really a gender thing now. Like it's women are kind of doing what men used to do years ago, and it really changes the dynamic of it because now it's like women don't really need men in the sense of financial reasons because I think a lot of women are pretty well off in terms of being able to support themselves financially. So what has happened with that dynamic is like now it kind of puts the role of a man in kind of a weird corner. It's like, what does the man provide in a marriage now? Because a lot of people have this kind of idea of like, what is the benefit of marriage? Because, we've seen statistics or stuff where like, the divorce rate is so high, like maybe marriages aren't going as well, like maybe they're not happy together. And if the divorce rate is so high, for a lot of young couples, maybe these days, they might be hearing it from, secondhand from like other people saying like, oh, maybe they might say like, oh, marriage, you shouldn't get married or something. And then it kind of brings the idea to these people like, oh, what is the benefit of marriage? Like, is it, well, I mean, obviously you guys marry to be in love and everything, but what are the other benefits? Like, is there really a financial benefit, emotional benefit, physical benefit? It really changes the dynamic of marriage as well.
I think you hit a few different subjects. So, yes, we're definitely in a transitional state, but I would say there's definitely women out there who are very career oriented, and they know what they want. And on their end, they're achieving things in the world and they're making the money they need to, or they need traveling. They would need guys who are more vulnerable in connection with their emotions and can help with the emotional compatibility. Those women who are already have the traveling experience in life, they need somebody who listens to them and connects and is able to just be open to hearing about the issues of the world. But it all really depends what kind of relationship you want. There are other women who are gladly, even to today, like, hey, I worked in the industry. It was great. I don't want it anymore. Please, you be the breadwinner. You make it all happen. And I'm happy to just take care of the home. And you might say it's a traditional way that people used to do, but I feel the traditional way sounds a bit condescending. It doesn't mean that the woman is doing any lesser of work. Trying to keep the house going, taking care of chores. If you have kids, handling the kids actually is a lot more work that she's dealing with than what we deal at our office and work people. And we just get excited over some excitement we achieve from different people. But this way we could actually not dealing with, I don't know, the milk ran out or there's no food items, the grocery ran out of things, but your kid needs food. That's way tougher work that they do. But it just depends. It is the tough state that would be that I feel is men and women who are in the transitional state that we do not know is the old style the best way that we are the breadwinners. And even with that sometimes arrogance comes upon, and we don't want to be arrogant, we're trying to be open, but it's mutual, it's both ways. you know the women are also like, why is he not able to understand me? I just want him to listen right now. And then another time I want him to man up. And the word man up is you tough it up and be there. But it's tough for the guys because they're like, well, I opened up with all my vulnerability and I opened up to you. And while I'm trying to share my emotions that you requested yesterday to share my emotions with, now you're saying, why are you sharing those emotions? Why are you weak? I'm like, I'm not weak. I'm just sharing what has happened with me, how my day was. But next day, I will be the strong guy that you are looking forward to. But right now, I am not there. Right now, I am just trying to show the softer side of me. So I think it just sometimes the timing's off, or people don't get it that when a guy is trying to be vulnerable, does not mean he's soft. It just means he's trying to show you his softer side. And if a man is showing his softer side, that means he trusts you. Because we know how many people in this world, I know that Porta Party would agree with this, as he and me connected in the friendship, one that are out for you when things are not looking bright. So I think it just depends. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, we went right away in a relationship topic. It's
I
like,
like jumping topics, but it's
So
actually a pretty.
yeah, it's an important one, and I think it goes in the role of what is a good man. I mean, how you describe those days a good man, and I mean, there's a whole dynamic between Mr. Nice Guy. It's a great book, by the way, read it. But it's I think a good man in those days. I mean, it goes a lot what you said, right? I mean, at the end, I think be yourself, right? I mean, easier said, but find a balance. I mean, I agree. I mean, yeah, you should show emotions, but also be careful because sometimes too much emotion is too much emotion. You know, I mean, that's a kind of. So I think balance is a really important word, and then also boundaries. I'm a big fan of boundaries, and it sounds now really like, oh my gosh, like, but I think communicate where are your boundaries, right? So, and I think when you are now in a relationship, I think being respectful with each other and respect those boundaries is really something important, right? Because what I facing is really like if you are clear and communicate really like, okay, look, I think what you just said, I mean, I showed emotions and you now kind of making fun of me. This is not nice because what happened is I shut down.
Yes.
Is that what you want? No. So we need to find another way to communicate that.
I don't think people are expecting us to be perfect. Um, yes, it might feel that they're trying to look for perfection because women think a lot more than most men do. Um, I feel when we stop thinking, it's actually when a woman starts thinking. That's why there's a disconnect between the two. But I can see where it can be a lot to be a role model and make all the right moves. I think it's just, you said a very important point that when you're sharing emotions, it's very important, even if you want to make fun of it, not make fun of it that very moment because a person's opening up. So listen to the person, take it all in, and then maybe another day you can be like, I didn't know you were soft about gender. Like at that time, it's fine, but we gotta time things better. We cannot just laugh at somebody when they're opening up their heart and sharing their feelings. So that's an important thing, I would definitely say. Um, I used to say when I was younger, a lot, I would be like, and I don't think you guys will agree with this, but I used to say, of course, it's a man's world because if it was a woman's world, no men will get jobs. I'd be like, it'd be too tough. It would be very detail oriented. It'd be a lot of work. You know, it's we are looking at a broader picture, and I'm not trying to make a differentiation between men and women, but it is a lot for men these days. I would say earlier it was a lot easier to make mistakes. Now, if you make mistakes, people actually are like, "Why did you do this?" And even though they're trying to actually understand why you did this, it actually comes across to us like as if a defense mechanism comes on. And then we're like, wait, why are you yelling at me? And they're not. But I think it's just frustration, time, and other excitement that you we take things the way they shouldn't be taken, but they get taken by all of us. I myself have done that a few times. That I think the person's coming with a lot stronger voice, but then Poopy Head here has been like, no, he meant it as a fun way. I was like, that's fun. So thank God for Poopy Head for directions.
Of
What
course
do you
not.
think?
It seems like the overarching theme here is really just being yourself, and obviously communication is very important because everyone is different, everyone has their own ways of communicating, and as partners together, you guys are in a union together, you guys are living life together, trying to grow together in one direction, and you guys have to be supportive of each other. And then when you have moments such as being vulnerable, sharing maybe feelings or thoughts that you would not be comfortable sharing with anybody else except for the love that you're with, or maybe the love of your life, depending on where you guys are at. That's a vulnerable state, and you have, as a partner, you have to be supportive of that and understand, at least understanding of that, and then be able to acknowledge and then communicate back. But if you kind of shut it down and be like, ha ha ha, why are you so weak, like you guys were saying, or why are you like ridiculing the person for being vulnerable? That's not nice because they're trying to be honest with you. They're trying to share their deepest, darkest feelings with you, and to kind of shut that down, it's not always the best.
So give me, what are the three pros and cons of when you guys think about cavemen? And I know by cavemen, I just say the term cavemen, but I mean earlier times. Men like before the modern times, let's say. Pros and cons of now modern men. And it could be anything. Top three. And quick thinking, yes, of today.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Top three.
That's a hard one because wow, it really depends. I think. Oof.
Just go. Whatever you think, whatever's coming to your mind.
I can hop in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
go for it because I think it's really a sensitive topic here. It's really
Yeah.
so.
I think maybe flexibility. I think that's one benefit of the modern man today, because women and men can pretty much do similar things, like in terms of job work, job roles, and also stuff at home, trying to be flexible. So I think I've seen relationships today now where it's actually more acceptable and more common to actually the woman is now the breadwinner and the man is the one being in the more caretaker, supportive state. Just trying to take care of the kids. Like, hey, I'll send the kids to school. I'll make sure they get nutrition, stuff like that. They go to their like extracurriculars or whatever, and the woman is the one that leaves early for work and then comes back and be like, hey, let's have dinner, and everybody has a good time. The routine repeats again and again. So I think that flexibility is definitely a benefit, and I think it's more accepted now than it was back then. Like maybe at a certain period of time, maybe a decade or a few years ago, there are some, probably even today, some people are like, oh, like certain, I don't know, like groups that are like, oh no, men have to do this, women have to do this, but that's not true. I think it's 2024, things are changing, and I think throughout the years, people have evolved. Like I feel like we are evolving for a reason because we're trying to grow as people, and evolution always leads somewhere. Maybe it might be a bad thing or a good thing, but overall, I think we are heading towards a better place. And I think flexibility is definitely a good benefit because it brings more opportunities for growth, and you can work with more options.
Okay.
So,
I think with that, I would definitely like add that it's more an environment of teamwork. So it's, let's say, if you have kids or not, either way, in the morning, if the wife has gone out to, she's working at home, the man is then taking care of the kids or he's cooking the food. And then, or in the afternoon, the gentleman is leaving to do work, then she's coming back and she's working and helping out. So it's just teamwork, but the whole family is working together rather than just having separate duties. It's just an intermix of duties that you do together. And definitely, I feel that with the modern man, emotions is a big thing. I feel like earlier we would just say, this is how it is, I don't understand, and I don't want to hear it. But now, a woman can actually share emotions, and we can actually understand the women a lot better when they're like saying, you were loud here, quiet and down. And earlier times, I would just be like, no, like, this is how I deal with it. But with the modern times, I feel a better emotional compatibility can happen between men and women. Everyone's a lot more open to hearing what the other one has to say, and then how we can improve upon our own selves. That didn't really happen in the earlier times. Those are 2 points that came to mind. How about you now? You have some time to think.
I do, and I have, the thing is,
good transition. Like, okay.
no, I don't know how big we want to open it up, because there's enough. No, I mean, I would say pro for sure the equality aspect. I think it's really great that we are in a world now that a man can be at home with his kids,
Yeah.
and you really can, depending on your relationship, you can balance that. I think that's really great. Way more flexibility, as you always say. I would say back in the days, even though it was more one-sided, I think it was a bit more simple. I think roles were more clear, and now it's really depending on your partner. You really have to communicate more to really define the roles, I would say.
Okay.
Which I think I like that more, but I think back in the days it was more clear. Like you had really kind of, it's clear. There's no discussion either. I do that, you do this. And nowadays it's more a discussion either, depending on your partner. Because there are still traditional roles setups in those days. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, Poopy Head,
Yes.
how do you see modern man in the future aspect if you had to speak for your own self?
In the future, so I guess we could say maybe 5 or 10 years. I definitely think it would become more flexible as we see the future. I think we're at a time where roles aren't, like Porta Potty said, they're not really well defined yet. So there's that extra hurdle of trying to figure out things.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you. It's tea break.
There's like a cat that you immediately get, like with the pop.
Modern man, guys.
Okay,
Well, no, this is not.
hold on.
Oh, what's that?
The rustling is going to mess up the audio, so let me just wait.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. No worries.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
This is tea without the sugar, guys. If you want tea with sugar,
No,
I'm good. I'm good.
okay, we have sugar. Just keep it if you guys.
No.
We have it in case you want it.
Ah,
And we have this to mix it up.
if you want, I don't need it.
Sorry, I did not know the rough thing without it.
That's okay.
It's all right.
All right, back to you.
Okay.
You were saying.
Wait. It's not a good cut. This is a weird cut.
What was I saying? Oh,
Yes.
the roles weren't fine.
I asked you about the.
No, I forgot the last part I said.
I don't know.
Oh, you remember?
About what Pottery said about flexibility. You said.
Okay. I'll know where to pick it up. Okay.
1 6.
Sorry, I'm listening. I'm just making my tea.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just waiting until Porta Potty says we're good to go.
Okay.
Good to go?
3, 2, 1, cut.
It should be go, but yeah. So picking up to where we left off.
Yes.
We had to do a quick cut because we had a surprise gift.
Yes.
Of coffee. Tea it is. So picking up from where I left off, yes, there is an extra hurdle of trying to figure out what should the man and the woman do in this particular relationship, because every relationship is going to be different. The dynamic is not the same anymore. I think that is definitely something that will be more figured out in the future. I don't think it will be figured out yet, but it will definitely be, I think, more clearer. I think there will be more acceptance of, I guess we could say, I don't know if it's a different topic, but like vulnerability, like men being vulnerable. I think that will definitely be more accepted in the future, because even now, I think it's still kind of like lopsided. Like, is it accepted? Is it not accepted? Because some groups are like, men shouldn't, show their feelings and stuff. Men should show their feelings. So there's definitely a weird, I guess, debate about that. And I think it kind of carries over with the role of a man in terms of relationships and really trying to, grow together with a woman, because some men might feel conflicted. They're like, oh, I shouldn't have to always be strong. I can't be weak. I can't show my feelings. And that could negatively impact the relationship. But I think that will become better, I would think, 5 or 10 years down the road, because I think what is important is role models. As the new generation grows up, a lot of what impacts them is really their childhood. So how they've been raised, how the parents have treated them, how environmental factors wherever they go to school, or extracurricular activities or jobs, they take that all in at a young age, which is such a vulnerable age for your mind. Yes. Because those memories you have as a young child can impact you so much that can affect you for years or maybe your entire life. So that's I think topic for us, as we grow into with our partners or future partners and into fatherhood, we have to be those people that what's it called, like, impact the upcoming generation. Like, we are responsible for creating that future for the role of man or a woman, our sons and daughters, because we have to be a good example. Because when you are in a stable family, you have a better percentage of having your offspring or your kids become successful as you're even more successful. So I think I definitely see a positive in the future, but it starts with us, because we are the what is it called, causators of the future.
I think what you said makes a lot of sense. I think it's actually beautiful where the modern men are heading, because growing up, I'm sure there's a lot of men who would have liked to be, let's say, chefs, and would have just wanted to cook food. And in the earlier times, cooking food or dancing or certain things were being told, oh, that's not meant to do. They should be doing hunting, or they should be like, do fishing and things like that. So we were not able to share things that we would like to do, or we would like to paint or do something that was based on society, not very manly or something. And I've heard those things when you're younger. And I think it's beautiful that the flexibility that all genders, I don't think men and women, but all genders will be able to express themselves. And that's where future is heading. And it would be acceptable by society to do what you would like to do. Like, you would like to do pottery, you could be a potter. And it would not be taken as, no, you need to be a doctor or engineer. You want to be like a nurse, you to be a nurse. I have one of my best friends. He works as a nurse, and he's one of the best nurses I know. And it's something they think of a nurse, they think of a woman, and he's one of
It's a good
you
example.
know he's a man who's and he's been in the nursing industry for the last maybe the last 15 years, and his wife is the doctor, and they met in the mid, and it's exactly opposite roles. They think doctor is probably a man, not a woman, and it's all these things become more and more acceptable, and we will be able to express ourselves better. And also, there's so many of us at different times feel what will these people think, even though they don't matter, but inside our hearts, or that what will that person think, or what will society think, or what will my mother's friend think, or it's just different. But that won't matter that much anymore because it's all be acceptable in the society, or at least be more acceptable than where it stood 10 years ago, where it stands today. And it just adds a lot more flexibility. Like you guys said about role models, you know, men are role models, women, all genders are role models. And the more and more people sway or they make the path, other people will be like, oh, I remember Poopy Head did that, so why don't I try it? Like me getting online I was like, Poopy Head had a big play in this. And I was like, I don't know anything about it. I'm literally a caveman who is coming online. And thanks to Poopy Head, I know what shots, reels, things are and how to edit that I did not know if you asked me a month ago. So I feel like the outdated version, and by outdated, I don't mean that I am outdated, like way old. I'm just saying I don't have knowledge about these things, but I'm excited with your kindness, flexibility, and openness to share that I'm learning through you that what YouTube is and how to edit reels and make new things. And that's just my personal thing. Like I get to learn. I shared some ideas with Coda Party and he within seconds, which I would no jokes, take 3 to 4 days. He goes like, I have a design ready. I was like, how? And he's like, this is easy. And I'm just like, uh he was like in my brain and I was like, this is exactly how I want it. I showed him an idea and he was like, he delivered. And so I got to learn from him the tools he used. And I was like, oh, what is that? So I feel the beauty is that as long as we're asking for help from other men and we have the openness to learn, we are growing at a massive pace. And that's where I feel modern men are moving. We just ask for help from each other. And it's not a comparison game. I'm not comparing myself with you. All my life, I'm just comparing myself with myself. You know, I am just trying to see how I can be a better version of myself as I'm growing. So a different guy might be good in like different segments, and they're stronger at that because they have developed that segment more. Whereas I might be good in some other segments that you might have not developed. And the beauty is community. We're just growing together. And I'll share and help you with the segments I know the best of, and I'll learn from you the segments you know, so that we can just grow together and improve more things within ourselves and just be a family together. So that's where I feel modern family. Your turn, brother.
Well, a lot of things already been said, and what you said was, I think, I really liked this because we are now in a kind of a tradition phase, I would say, right? Because our parents are still a bit in the old school style, I would say, right? And now we are in the age of having kids, right? And I think what our generation now teach our children has a huge impact, as you said, for the next generation. And I think if you already are on that stage about being capable of asking for help, being capable of showing vulnerability, you already teach the right lessons to your kids, right? And I think I'm not saying I'm not sure if it gets easier. I'm not sure. I hope so, right? I hope like the world is becoming more open to that, but I for sure they have the good base, which we all have to we still have to learn a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we all are uncertain for certain topics. We don't know really how to handle the things. As I said in the beginning of the podcast, kind of the balance. Do I show now too much emotion? Should I share less, more emotions? I think it's still. Am I allowed to show vulnerability to a random person I maybe met like an hour ago, or should I not? How quickly I open up? I think there are all kind of questions which we still need to find a good
We're
answer.
figuring it out.
But we're figuring it out, right? And yeah, I think that's how I yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to ask you another question on that. So, what would you guys say what a modern man would be in like a dating world? So, how has it changed for you? Like, you both are, you know, growing in different perspectives and your own way. But when it comes to the dating, please, poopy head.
As a poopy head, I think it's difficult. I can't really compare anything because for me, growing up in the dating world is kind of in that generation. Like I'm already in the current generation, so I don't really have much to compare.
Thank you for
to.
aging us.
Maybe for like I don't know. I can only compare to maybe 5 or 7 years ago, but I felt like it's more or less we're still in that transitional phase. I feel, but I think right now it's just there's more things you have to consider now because depending on then this wouldn't be my personal account, but just in terms of like other people, like LGBTQ plus is more accepted now. So now it kind of opens up avenues of how people identify themselves. So now there's like all these different terms of how they identify themselves. So I think it's something for me to consider as well, especially when I would see couples, and I have to be respectful for how I should like call them, like like pronouns,
Yes.
how they go by, like he, she, her, them, it, and all these different terms that are something that's still very new to me that I have to navigate through. But in terms of like dating and stuff like that, I don't know. I mean, like I feel like 5 years ago, I think like online dating is really the new trend that it's been. Like Tinder is what started 10, 15 years ago, I think. So maybe 5 years ago, Tinder was still, it still is the most popular app, but Tinder was very, very dominant. Like I think Bumble and Hinge and all these other apps didn't really take a big lift off until recent years. So I think, and now some people might even say like Bumble and Hinge are even better than Tinder in terms of like getting a relationship and stuff. But in terms of maybe, well, I guess what I see dating now these days is people are just really stuck to their phones, just like meeting people online, and through online they meet them in person rather than the, I guess, traditional way or the old school way of people, meeting through in person or in school or in activities or in bars and clubs. I think that used to be how people met, because back then phones didn't even exist until like 1990s. I could be wrong, but so those apps weren't even existed back then. So the only way you can meet people is if you go out there. But now people have the option of other means of being able to get access to like meeting potential people in life. So it definitely is. I think for me, that's what I grew up with, so that's what I'm used to. But I think for maybe people that have lived in different generations, they might find that as a new. I wouldn't say difficulty, but it's just something that you have to learn and adapt to. Some people might find it easy, some people may not. But I would say that would be maybe the my experience as a modern man in the dating world.
Oh, that's good points raised. Man of different generations.
You want to say I'm older?
The generation before me.
Should I start with I know how dating is before Tinder?
He said it himself. He was like, I am only of that. I'm like,
Not my words.
I'm like, thank you for dating.
Never said you were older.
Next to us. Man of different generations.
Let me take a sip first.
Please
Let me
share
set this cup of tea.
your dating opinion and this modern man in this dating world.
Can we add some alcohol?
Different generation, that makes sense. Whiskey. Go ahead.
Well, I have the old school way and the new online way, so
Nice.
I don't want to kind of compare what is better, but what for sure is kind of opportunities is a big thing. I mean, it's so easy those days to really scan through a lot of people, and it's also way easier to kind of get rid of people. Like, I think a term I use often is kind of the grass is greener syndrome. I don't know you guys if you know what that means. Yeah, so maybe I'm looking at maybe the other person is better because of certain reasons, and then maybe you realize no, it's not really green or the grass, right? Maybe so, and I think that's especially in online dating that's the case because um, a friend of mine she shared me once her Tinder profile.
Okay.
Hey, you cannot imagine 300, 400 men. Hi, hi, how are you doing? Hi, 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 hi.
I
Crazy.
know somebody
Yeah, crazy.
who has
So-
multiple hundred
And
connections.
and I
there.
think for a woman especially, then it's kind of okay. What I'm looking for, what are my interests, where's the quality I'm aiming for. So it's kind of you don't have time to think about when you have 500 matches to think about 10 minutes per match. I mean, forget it, right? So it's like quick thinking.
Yeah.
And exactly this is what the modern world shows. I mean, you have not much time anymore. You have social media. It's every like how long you look at the ad, like 2-3 seconds, and you slip to the next one. So you really have to impress in a couple of seconds in those words. So that has changed a lot because back in the days, as you said, you go in a restaurant, you go in a bar, and the opportunities of meeting people was way less, right? And you hopefully you found the love of your life.
Yes.
But and those days you have so much possibilities, and you really start comparing. And I think also what men do, which I also sometimes see that I compare myself with men in social media and look, oh, they have maybe a better body or they're so successful, and it can, and it's not healthy. That's what you said before. Compare yourself with yourself, right?
Yes,
compare
always.
yourself what you have been yesterday or a year ago and now, and hopefully you're better. That's the goal, right? Becoming better.
We try.
Exactly, but I think that's what I'm saying in the beginning is a lot of pressure because we have the feeling we have to be always even better and better and better because you start comparing. But social media, we all know it, a lot of things are fake.
Yeah.
A lot of things are just you show the best of you and not the weak moments.
Yes.
But also, dating has changed, and I think it's hard to really impress someone with a couple of seconds. And I think back in the days, maybe you took more time. You said marriage, 50% marriage rate. I think back in the days, you maybe stick more closer together and say, okay, give another chance.
Yes.
Maybe those days, you would say, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, this was
You
good.
know, but
We lasted 3 years.
yeah. So
3 years.
if all those marriages were healthy, I don't know. I cannot say that, but the opportunity today in those modern life is it's easier to find a new partner if you really want, and I think that's the big change I'm seeing in the modern dating world. So
Well, it's interesting that you guys have said that because a man of multiple generations, still younger than Mr.
Another generation before.
Yes.
you don't need to make that
No,
public. That
right,
we all
Mitch? I have to. I said multiple generations. I gotta tell I'm still younger. Okay, I'm not the oldest one here. We'll leave it at that.
Interesting.
Who could it be?
Chris-
He's
Small
only
of you,
two.
who is
Porta
small?
potties two. Nature calls multiple.
Yeah. Probably also because of ancestry. Multiple, you know that. It's interesting that you guys have said that because, we were just talking about it the other day, and like I said, cavemen in multiple ways. Cavemen definitely when it comes to apps. I have zero experience about it. I just learned a bit about it. I think before yesterday or yesterday.
Before yesterday.
So yes,
Before
day before yesterday. Yeah. So day before yesterday, I learned it through. I had a friend of mine, who shared theirs, and I learned. Remember how to even use that. and no jokes, I felt outdated because like I'm learning where the home button is, where the messaging goes, what and it was like an easy norm, and it's one of the applications. So I felt like a plethora of knowledge has been opened up of because when someone asked me what do you do, I said I guess I'm the Mr. Old Fashioned man. I still love an old fashioned drink, but I'm Mr. Old Fashioned. I believe in let's meet first. Not online. There is no online presence of mine. There is no apps. I believe I'll meet you at the bar or I'll meet you at my friend's party and we'll see it goes from there. I'll take your number. I don't have these 5 seconds and 3 seconds or, you know, I feel living maybe like I said, in certain times I'm a modern man, and certain times I'm like a caveman who hasn't really moved on to the next generation and done the 3 seconds. Somebody asked this question, they're like, hey, how do we find you? I said, you won't. I'm not anywhere. Like all my friends are online, but I'm not online. You find me at the party and I don't like to have an online presence that much. I am just starting to figure out and enjoy this podcast. I like discussing feelings and how we can grow, but like if you ask me on dating apps, I'm on nothing. So I got to learn a lot. But I agree with you guys when you guys are sharing that where the modern men and the future is. Yes, it'll probably be 3, 4 seconds, and it would be like even lesser than that, probably just 1 second. You look at a person, you probably get an image, and you get like to see one line, or even I don't even think a line. I think just a picture. Even though we say we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but in your dating life, that's all you guys are doing. We all are just and everybody like I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure even if I had done it, we've done it in different ways. I've probably done it at a bar. I'm like, nah, not that. I've not even spoken to the person. You have no clue. You could say in apps, you've just seen for a second or two, and you'd be like, okay, next, next. This is not good enough. Next, next. And there's nothing wrong. Everybody does it. It's all genders. Everyone's doing it the same way. Uh, the question will come up about the quality of a relationship, and you had also mentioned something very important. You don't know how many of those relationships that people were in the earlier times, how happy they were they toxic, were they truly happy? We don't know those answers because I heard a lot of times, because a man of multiple generations, that a lot of people were just together because it's convenient. They said they're toxic, they didn't like each other, but they're like, why do you want to go back out in the market? There's worse things out there. So at least I know what you are. Yeah, I know you're bad and you're good, and I know when to look the other way and when not to look the other way. And it's easy, and life is already really hard. So just to know what are the easy things out there, it's kind of nice to make life a bit easier. And dating isn't easy. So respect to you both. Yeah, but sorry, this is my clapping moment for them.
Well, I think this is important, and being a modern man, and I just really speak now, a man, is to really also know when you have to leave. I think this is important.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of
Wait, leave what? The world?
bye, bye.
He's like, peace out.
Mic drop, I would say. Like when you know now it's time to move on, when it's time to, if you are in a toxic relationship, that you're not afraid being single on the market, that you leave. If you have friends who didn't give you positive energy, who really are negative or jealous about a success, you have to leave. And I think this is also really important, I think, as a modern man, to really know.
I'll take you on this once you're done. Go ahead.
No, go, please.
So, if you asked me 3 or 4 years ago, I would completely agree with you. But then, when I was in California, I saw very, very lonely people out there. And I met so many people when I was volunteering, and they said, we made a mistake. They said, how? So he's like, well, I was in a toxic relationship, I had a toxic family, but at least I had people around. Now I'm completely alone. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, yeah. I understand where you're coming. I'm not trying to challenge you or anything, but I'm just saying, at that time, I was like, oh, maybe what I just said. So, not saying there's a right or wrong answer to anything, but that opened my eyes. So I was like, oh, maybe for some people, like you say, for
but loneliness, we talked about it, and I think loneliness doesn't. Then if you do the right steps, you can get out of the loneliness, because there are always great people out there. There
Yeah,
always
but
people.
how many times you want to go and find those great people? As we're growing older, sorry, you don't count, you're not man of multiple generations. You know, you have your online 5 second, 3 second things. As multiple generations, you know, as we're growing older, the last thing we want to do is go to a bar and say hi. And it doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man or any gender. We just don't want to say hi.
But
We want it naturally to come to
yeah,
us.
but we're living in a modern world and you have so many opportunities. I mean, and I think being being in a toxic environment
It's not
makes
good.
you
Yeah.
negative,
Yeah.
makes you sad. Loneliness, of course, it's also hard. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think me personally, it would influence my life way harder if I'd been in a toxic environment. And I know people, really a close one, who lived in a toxic environment, and I felt him doing. I saw a lot of things he did, but basically goes in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And it influences you.
Oh, it does.
And if you then be in an environment that you all the time be afraid of doing something that maybe triggers something, then I personally, and maybe for other people it's different, but I personally present lonely, but I can be myself, rather than always need to be careful or always need, I don't know, it would, for me, too stressful. That would be for me too much.
No, so I agree with you. Like when you're saying for yourself is too much, I would agree. Even when it comes to myself, it's too much. But I would say there are certain people out there who don't really want to take on the world, who don't really want to do the change.
Of course, yeah,
They might be pretty happy, even though they know that it's kind of a, I'm trying to find a good word, not the right place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great job, Bunny.
I agree. I mean,
Hope we had noise.
It's that multiple generational skill.
Yeah. So I think for them it'll be different. But yes, I agree with you. As a modern, we're trying to improve, and we know it's a great call when it just gets above our head, and you're barely able to breathe, and the water is above your head. Time to leave. Actually, you should have left when it was right around your mouth or your nose, and it's coming for you. But sometimes it's better to leave even later than never. So definitely a great point.
I mean, yeah, I think, and then this is really hard what I'm saying now, and I'm still not there, but I think a modern man really has to build an environment. Even if one pillar crashes, you have several other pillars to keep you upright. And I think that's the goal that you need to achieve. That you really, you can be by yourself. You can challenge things by yourself. It's not afraid to be asked for help, but this is one pillar more, right? Asking for help with other people. But I think you really need to be stable in life. I think, and this is really hard because we struggle with a lot. Everybody have their package, but I think this is, I think, what a modern man needs to be in those worlds, because the expectations are high, but we also need to be strong, not only physically, also in other areas, right?
No, I think that's a great way to actually end this. Before we do, Poopy Head, do you have any comments on this?
I acknowledge and I agree with some points. It's definitely a good thing to have more, I guess, options or support groups out there, because I think there's definitely been a higher level of awareness with, like if you're stuck in a toxic situation. Depending on where you live, there are definitely support groups that can help you with that. Maybe you're able to be in a support group and to be able to meet people that have been in similar situations, and to be able to speak out in those difficult times that you face. And perhaps there's even programs to help put you in a better place, or rather, just if there's nothing, just get out of that situation and just roll the dice and see what happens. Because at the end of the day, if you know in that situation it's not going to get any better, you're better off rolling the dice than staying somewhere where you already know what that result is, and it's not going to be any better.
Yeah, I sorry.
No, that's
okay. I want to make sure because that's something I'm trying to work on.
Yeah.
But I think, as you guys said, to just sum it up, I think the best way as a modern man would be to be flexible and flexible like water, just intangible. So that, let's say, if, like you said, multiple pillars fall or one pillar falls, you should never be scared or worried that you cannot build another pillar, even at whichever stage of your life. Yes, you will lose your support groups, you will lose people around you, but you should never say, you should never lose to your own self. You should be like, it's fine, it's tough. I wish I had created more pillars. They're not out there. No worries. Let's do it again. Let's again build ourselves. And as long as we keep fighting and we fight all the way with our own selves, it will be a beautiful life, and there will be pillars out there for supporting us and other modern men.
Be flexible, adaptable, learn all the elements, become the avatar.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, avatar would be great.
Yes.
Now, blue will look great on this.
Earthbend all the pillars. I think that is a good segment.
Peace out.
Bye. Hi guys, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.